knowledge becomes truly impactful when shared. And with this in mind, it is only right that we face the challenges ahead with hope as we enter a new chapter, iCMA 2025. This significant event, hosted by the Faculty of Graduate Studies at the University of Jayewardenepura, brings together curious minds from across the globe with one goal: exchange and celebrate knowledge. A very good morning to you, all the distinguished academics and ladies and gentlemen. We now recognize the presence of our distinguished guests this morning, escorted by the traditional beating of the Sri Lankan drums. On behalf of the Faculty of Graduate Studies of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura, we warmly welcome all of you to the inaugural ceremony of the 11th International Conference on Multidisciplinary Approaches, iCMA 2025, Bridging Gaps and Inspiring Innovations in Multidisciplinary Research. Light is a symbol of brightness and prosperity. For that, I cordially invite the honorable guests to grace us with their presence today. Accordingly, I cordially invite Senior Professor Padmalal Manage, Vice Chancellor of the University of Jayewardenepura, Professor Vasinga Pereira, Dean of the Faculty of Graduate Studies and Medical Chair of iCMA 2025, our keynote speaker, Emeritus Professor Arjuna Marakana, all deans participating today representing their respective faculties, Dr. Asanga Vasinga, Director, Postgraduate Institute of Management, Professor Vasanta Pereira, representing the board chairpersons of the FGS, Professor Chitra Jaitilaka, representing the course coordinators of the FGS, Librarian Dr. Nayana Jaisundar, Madhushi Trigodavi, Assistant Registrar of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, Mrs. Lekha Singha, Deputy Bursar of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, and Mr. Mohammad Atiq, Secretary of the iCMA 2025. I cordially invite our The University of Sri Jayewardenepura, situated in the heart of Colombo, was of a long and glorious history. Having been established in the 1959 at Jayewardenepura, its roots can be traced back to the Vidyodaya Pirivena established in 1873 by Hikadiya Sri Samangala Thero at Manika Kandu. Today, the university pays homage more than 60 years of history by paying tribute to the journey of 152 years. Today, the university stands strong with 11 faculties and home to over 13,000 undergraduates, over 2,000 postgraduate students. It is considered the largest university in terms of student population in Sri Lanka. Ladies and gentlemen, let's rise for the university anthem. Thank you very much. Behind every achievement, there is always a pillar of strength. His commitment to advancing knowledge in his field is further demonstrated by his active membership in esteemed professional organizations including Forum for Ethics Review Committee of Asia and Western Pacific, the Association of Clinical Biochemists of India, and the College of Biochemists of Sri Lanka, among others. I would like to invite the chair of the 11th International Conference on Multidisciplinary Approaches, iCMA 2025, the Dean of the Faculty of Graduate Studies of University of Sri Jayewardenepura and the conference chair, Professor Rasika Pereira, to deliver the welcome speech.
Good morning. Most Venerable Mahasangha, Professor Padmanabhan Manage, Vice Chancellor, University of Sri Jayewardenepura, the keynote speaker for iCMA 2025, Emeritus Professor Arjuna Parakrama, Deans of all faculties, Director, Postgraduate Institute of Management, Chairpersons of Boards of Study, Coordinators of the study programs. Today we don't have the registrar and the bursar, but the librarian is here with us. Senior Assistant Registrar and staff of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, and especially the registrants of the conference. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you to the 11th International Conference on Multidisciplinary Approaches, themed Bridging Gaps and Inspiring Innovations in Multidisciplinary Research. It is a privilege to have you all here today, and I am both honored and excited to share this movement with such an esteemed gathering. Over the course of the day, we will delve into the heart of innovation, collaboration, and the infinite possibilities that arise when disciplines intersect. As the Dean of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, it is an honor to welcome all the dignitaries to the iCMA 2025 today. It is with great pleasure, sir, that I welcome the Vice Chancellor of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura, Senior Professor Padmanabhan Manage, whose unwavering leadership and commitment to advancing academic excellence have made this conference possible. Further, being the immediate past Dean of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, your valuable insights have really helped me in organizing this conference. Your visionary support for fostering an environment where interdisciplinary dialogue thrives has not only shaped this event, but also continues to inspire us all to break the boundaries of traditional research. We are grateful for your presence here today and for all the contributions you make to the academic community of the university. It is my great honor to welcome our esteemed keynote speaker, Professor Emeritus Arjuna Parakrama, to this conference. Professor Arjuna Parakrama is a distinguished expert in English at University of Peradeniya, and we are incredibly fortunate to have him share his insights with us today. I take this opportunity to thank Most Venerable Madagampiti Vijayamutero for proposing Professor Parakrama to be the keynote speaker for iCMA 2025. A warm welcome to all the deans of the faculties. Your guidance and support are the pillars of our university's academic infrastructure. Each of you plays an essential role in ensuring that the students, faculty and researchers under your leadership are encouraged to push the frontiers of knowledge. Your work empowers the kind of innovation that is vital in today's rapidly developing world, and the Faculty of Graduate Studies is deeply grateful for your ongoing commitment to excellence in education and especially postgraduate research. Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe, Director of Postgraduate Institute of Management, it is a pleasure to warmly welcome you to iCMA 2025, and I would like to take this opportunity to express our sincere gratitude for the generous support provided by PIM for this conference. We look forward to future collaborations with PIM and FGS, particularly in advancing research initiatives. I would also like to welcome the chairpersons of boards of study and the coordinators of the academic programs of the FGS. Thank you very much for your tireless work in shaping the research landscape and for your dedication to maintaining the highest academic standards. Your expertise and insight in coordinating postgraduate programs of the FGS ensure that the conference reflects the very best of what multidisciplinary research can offer. A warm welcome to Dr. Nayana Vijay Sundara, librarian, and I also would like to mention the registrar and the bursar as well, and the assistant registrar and the deputy bursar of the Faculty of Graduate Studies and all the other staff members of the university and the Faculty of Graduate Studies. Thank you very much for the help extended in organizing this event as well as your presence today. I also like to take a moment to recognize and welcome all our presenters who is on the other side at the FGS, whose research and ideas are the heart and soul of this conference. Each of you represents the cutting edge of your respective fields, and the work you have put into your presentations is invaluable. Now, the theme of our conference this year is Bridging Gaps and Inspiring Innovations in Multidisciplinary Research. This could not have been more timely or more important. As we all know, the challenges we face today, whether in science, technology, health or society, are multifaceted and complex. The traditional boundaries that have historically separated disciplines are no longer sufficient to address these novel challenges. It is only by embracing a multidisciplinary approach that we can hope to make meaningful progress. And I feel that University of Sri Jayewardenepura, with 11 faculties encompassing different fields, is the best place to get together and promote such multidisciplinary research. At this conference, we are committed to creating a space where boundaries can be crossed, where ideas from one field can spark breakthroughs in another, and where the sum of our collective knowledge becomes greater than its individual parts. Through the interdisciplinary collaboration, we can tackle the pressing issues of our time, from climate change and public health to technology and social justice, by approaching them from multiple angles and different perspectives. Our theme for today also speaks to the role of innovation. Innovation in its essence is the ability to think differently, to see beyond what is known, and to create solutions that have never been imagined before. Multidisciplinary research provides the perfect environment for this kind of innovation to flourish. It challenges the status quo and pushes us to think beyond our discipline-specific silos. As we look around the hall today, and especially the people at FGS who are preparing for their presentations, we are reminded that the strength of this conference lies in the diversity of thought and experience that each of us brings. It is this diversity that forms the foundation for collaboration and innovation. We all know that it is through collaboration across disciplines, across cultures, and even across borders that we unlock the full potential of our research and ideas. In closing, I want to express my sincere gratitude to all of you once again for your presence here today, for your contributions to the fields, and for your commitment to advancing knowledge in ways that will benefit society at large. I am confident that the discussions and collaboration that will unfold over the course of this conference will not only inspire new ideas, but also pave the way for impactful, transformative research. Thank you, and I look forward to an inspiring and fruitful conference ahead. Let us bridge gaps, inspire innovation, and make lasting change together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. A person endowed with the foresight of an oracle, guided by the principle of father, and driven by an unwavering work ethic, his immense contribution towards research and academic development has acted as a catalyst of many success stories. As one of the co-chairs of the Research Council, he has contributed a prominent service to the research culture in the University of Sri Jayewardenepura. His dedication and expertise in the fields of biology, water quality, and environmental management are evident in his multifaceted contributions. He is the director of the Center for Water Quality and Algae Research, co-chair of the Research Council, University of Sri Jayewardenepura, a board member of the National Science Foundation, and honorary fellow, Robert Gordon University, United Kingdom. And also, we are very proud to announce that he was the former dean of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, University of Sri Jayewardenepura. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our chief guest of this prestigious event, the Vice Chancellor of University of Sri Jayewardenepura, Senior Professor Padmalal Managi, to deliver a speech.
Very good morning to all of you, Reverend Mahasangha, and the Dean Faculty of Graduate Studies, Professor Rasika Pereira, all Deans of the faculties, and Director PIM, Dr. Asangara Singha, and all board chairs of the faculty, and board members of the faculty, lecturers, and non-academic staff members, and registrars of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, and very importantly, the paper presenters today conference. I think it is another kind of milestone in our university, because we inaugurate the 11th Interdisciplinary Research Conference organized by the Faculty of Graduate Studies. It is my immense pleasure and privilege to address you at this very special occasion at the 11th International Conference of Multidisciplinary Approaches organized by this faculty. So when you see the theme of the conference, it says about the bridging gaps and inspiring innovation and multidisciplinary research. It is timely and very significant theme selected by the faculty, because in today's world, no single discipline holds all the answers to complex issues we face. So that is what I want to highlight today. So whether we look at environmental sustainability and healthcare advancement or economic resilience, it is evident that solutions require the integration of multiple disciplines. So that is what we have to understand, because the earlier we work individually and isolate way, but now we need the multidisciplinary approach to overcome and to give solution to a problem now we are facing. Multidisciplinary research plays a crucial role in national development. By combining expertise from different fields, we can tackle emerging environmental, health and economic problems comprehensively. For an example, climate change is not just an ecological issue. I think all you agree with me. It has social, economic and health implications. So therefore, the ecologist can't work for climate change. So then we have to work together, and then only we can come to a final conclusion. So that is what we thinking. Addressing such changes requires scientists, and not only scientists, economists we need, and the policymakers very importantly, and social scientists to cooperate in unfilled effort. So that is So what we have to think. Similarly, in recent global health crises have shown us the medical research alone is insufficient. I think now there is a dialogue, so we are discussing, so the medical, social sciences, innovation, technology, engineering, everything together. So then we have already started it. I think the Faculty of Dental Sciences, Faculty of Medical Sciences and Faculty of Allied Health Sciences work with Faculty of Engineering. So I remember the Faculty of Engineering, they initiated this program. They have started some workshops to work together. So this is what we expect in near future. So then we can develop, then we can answer the global problem. As a university, so the Kampier mentioned, so we established Research Council 2016. So we had noble objectives to work together. So then soon after establishment of the Research Council, we were able to establish 23 research centers. So we thought to work, for the particular works and the particular discipline. For an example, we initiated and we established Cancer Research Center, Dengue Research Center, and Nanotechnology, Multidisciplinary Research Center to work social scientists together, and the Management Studies and Commerce, and then work the management discipline together. And we collaborate with the industries and ministries, and then we discuss with them to find their problem, and then we prepare the proposals to find some solution to burning problem in the country. For an example, chronic kidney disease of unknown etiology, still we don't know the root cause for the disease, but there are more than 13 hypotheses. Under these 13 hypotheses, engineers are working, and the doctors are working, scientists are working, social scientists are working. So therefore, still we couldn't find a root cause for this disease. But so we are quite progressive, and now according to the statistics, this chronic kidney disease is now the descending trend. So the number of patients recorded the last few years are now decreasing. So this was due to this scientific research and social sciences research and the technological research. So therefore, further we need to address this problem in the multidisciplinary way. So then the combination of public health policies, bioremediation and advancement, technological advancement, and economical strategies are needed to mitigate this future risk. So then our responsibility as lecturers and the scientists and researchers are to generate knowledge and ensure that our finding reach policymakers and the public meaningfully. So that is very important. Sometimes most of our research finding, so we usually keep in the library, or so we publish as a paper. But this the knowledge and the finding not disseminate to the public. So therefore, we have to transparently, we have to give all this information to the public and the government. Then the data-driven decision making can only occur when we provide accessible, reliable and multi-impactful research finding. So that is very, very important. For an example, the government now, because I also involving, so they are collecting some information relevant to different disciplines. For an example, the very simple example is the coconut problem. So then you see, so it is not the very recent problem. So then they are collecting information, what was happened and what is happening. So that is, then we have to deeply analyze, and then we can come to a conclusion with some suggestions. So, and also the government rely on evidence-based solutions. So, our role as scientists and researchers to generate and communicate the knowledge effectively and efficiently. Furthermore, the fostering the national and international collaboration is very important. It is also not from science to science or medical to medical. So then we have to have good international and national collaboration in multidisciplinary way. So then only we can create some innovation, invention and other creation. So we are very happy to say 2018, so we established IIVCC Council, the founder, co-chair, Professor Nilmini and Professor Hinkendra. So they have taken some initial steps to establish the Innovation, Invention and Venture Creation Council. Now we can see the progress. So all the discipline come together, and then the research finding and the patent filing and some innovations are there. So this is the way to go forward. So we do research, and then research finding and other patents come to the council, innovation and invention, and then we can commercialize. So then we can disseminate our knowledge to the public. So that is what we are trying to develop, and I am very happy to say from all the national universities recently it was evaluated, the patent and the dissemination of knowledge through the university research, and the Jayewardenepura University is the top university in terms of taking this research outcome to the commercialization and patent filing. So then congratulations, and all these come from our academics and researchers effort. And the student also get a lot of benefit through this conference, because this is not undergraduate, this is mainly the postgraduate student involved in this conference, and they show their they publish their research finding in this conference. And also it is very important to invite all the stakeholders from other side industry, and they discuss, and we have to create a forum to discuss with industry and other stakeholders. Then we can identify the gap and the questions in the industry, and accordingly we can prepare our proposals and work with the industry. So therefore, thank you very much organizing this event. This is the 11th conference, and the disciplines and the institutions and other sector involvement is very important. So therefore, finally we can come up with a good solutions and to problem what we are facing in this era. Then thank you very much. So then today and tomorrow, today only, yeah. Today you can share your research experience with peers and your seniors and the policymakers and stakeholders, and get their comment and suggestion as positive to improve your research further. And also as a university, so I expect from Faculty of Graduate Studies more publications, because Jayewardenepura University 2024, so we invested more than 250 million for research, individual research grants, and so more than 10 million for research centers, and therefore we expect your the outcome and the research outcome to the development of the university as well as the country. So thank you very much again, and the co-chairs of the research conference and the dean and all the board chairs of the faculty, because their support is very important for the faculty development, and they are working for the faculty without anything. They are not get any benefit from the faculty and the university. Thank you very much, because I want to appreciate all board chairs of the faculty and all the staff members and all the researchers and academics members of the university to the support given to improve the quality research of the university and take my university to the next best level in the country as well as the international level. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our keynote speaker this morning, Emeritus Professor Jayewardenepura, needs no special introduction. A poet, scholar, an activist over the last 30 years, a distinguished academic career in Sri Lanka. Nevertheless, we are delighted to officially introduce our keynote speaker this morning to you. Therefore, I cordially invite Professor Rasika Pereira, Dean and the Conference Chair of the iCMA 2025, to introduce our keynote speaker and invite him to deliver the keynote speech.
Jayewardenepura, Emeritus Professor of English, University of Jayewardenepura, is a scholar, activist and poet who counts over 40 years of distinguished academic service in Sri Lanka. In addition to the important work done with the UN and major international foundations in Nepal and Pakistan. He has served as a global expert on the human rights-based approach to development and in conflict transformation. Professor Parakrama has received prestigious fellowships from the Carnegie Council of Ethics and International Affairs in 1999, the United States Institute of Peace in 2000, the University of Pittsburgh in 2012, Columbia University in 2018, and was a Fulbright New Century Scholar in 2007. He is a recipient of research grants from Guggenheim Foundation in 2002 and the USIP in 2006. At the University of Colombo, he was the head of English department and Dean of the Faculty of Arts from 1996 to 1999. At University of Jayewardenepura, where he was the chair professor of English for 20 years, he also served as the director of the Center for the Study of Human Rights from 2017 to 2022. He has taught as visiting professor at the National University of Malaysia, the Center for Contemporary Theory in India and the University of Pittsburgh, and was an honorary research fellow at La Trobe University, Australia. As part of his activist role, he was involved in the work of the Federation of University Teachers Association, FUTA, for many decades and currently serves in the Center for Monitoring Election Violence, of which he was a founder member. He has worked for 30 years training community activists from marginalized groups across the country. As an interdisciplinary scholar working on critical studies, subalternity, human rights and development, and radical social linguistics, he is author of many essays, monographs and books, such as Keyword for Today, Language and Rebellion, Dehegemonizing Language Standards, Learning from Post-Colonial English about English, and he is an award-winning poet and published his second book of poems in 2002. He believes that academic and activist work must mutually inform each other, and that neither is of any value unless it is combined with learning to learn from subaltern groups. I wanted this part to be a surprise, but unfortunately with his memory it's very difficult. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take a moment to speak briefly on a personal note about Professor Jayewardenepura. Beyond the impressive academic achievements highlighted in his resume, which has been shared with you, Professor Parakrama is truly a remarkable individual and a well-rounded personality. He is widely regarded as one of the Sri Lanka's greatest chess players. It is often said that had he continued his chess career, which regrettably for our country he did not, he would have undoubtedly achieved the title of international master and most likely would have become the Sri Lanka's first Grand Master, a milestone we have yet to achieve. As noted on the college chess web page, quote, "The golden age of Royal College chess began after former captain Jayewardenepura took on a permanent coaching role from 1984 until the close of the decade. The school secured both junior and senior titles every year, maintaining an undefeated streak for 9 consecutive years." Unquote. I belong to that golden era where many of our team members were known by their initials such as OC, DCL, PPR and PCL, with a few exceptions like Jayendra and Mudita. During this time, I had the privilege of being coached by Arjuna, as he is affectionately known at college. His guidance was instrumental in shaping my early development as a chess player. Therefore, it is with great honor that I welcome Professor Arjuna Parakrama as the keynote speaker for this conference, which I have the privilege of sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the stage the keynote speaker for iCMA 2025, Emeritus Professor Arjuna Parakrama.
Good morning, and thank you very much for those kind and completely false words of praise. I'm very honored to be here. This is one of the few universities I have not bored people out of their minds with a keynote. I'm also very pleased to be around old friends who make this more than just that. And those who know me know that I can respect a place only by saying what I think as strongly as possible. My intent is not to upset, but to unsettle. And I hope that you will take it in that spirit. Those who don't know me may even be upset, but it's to be done. Let me first invoke support for critical engagement, the value of doubting, the responsibility for learning anew, intellectual humility, and the need for due process from 4 religious texts. In the Kalama Sutta, it is said, "It is proper for you, Kalamas, to doubt, to be uncertain. Uncertainty has arisen in you about what is doubtful. Come, Kalamas. Do not go upon what has been acquired by repeated hearing, nor upon tradition, nor upon rumor, nor upon what is a scripture, nor upon surmise, nor upon an axiom, nor upon specious reasoning, nor upon a bias towards a notion that has been pondered over, nor upon another's seeming ability, nor upon the consideration the monk is our teacher. Kalamas, when you yourselves know these things are bad, these things are blamable, these things are censured by the wise, undertaken and observed, these things lead to harm and ill, abandon them. And similarly, if they bring benefit and happiness, abide in them." Kural 844 in translation says, "What is stupidity? The arrogance that cries, 'Behold, we claim the glory of the wise.'" The explanation is, what is called want of wisdom is the vanity which says, "We are wise." In the Quran, 1736, "And do not pursue that of which you have no knowledge. Indeed, the hearing and the sight and the heart of each of these, it will be asked of that person what he did with them." Proverbs 14 says, "The wisdom of the prudent is to discern his way, but the folly of fools is deceiving. The simple believes everything, but the prudent gives thought to his steps." This is not an abstract theoretical discussion so much as an explanation of my own intellectual journey, how and why I came to do what I am doing. I would like to be seen as an activist among academics and as an academic among activists, because I believe that each of these emphases bring the other to crisis, creating a productive unease, as it were. In this sense, I cross many disciplinary boundaries and work against mainstream disciplinarization, since I believe that disciplines are fundamentally conservative, even regressive in the face of new insights and development. So while I wholeheartedly agree, I think you have to go down. It's automatically doing something. Okay, then it should go up a bit. We'd go, no, up, so the next page. No, yeah, sorry. When I say up, I mean down. The next page. Alright, okay. So now basically while I say that multidisciplinary is crucial, I don't think we understand how difficult it is. I don't think we understand how problematic it is. So let me try to take you through. What is multidisciplinary about multidisciplinary research? Is it the use and abuse of many disciplines? And I will give you what I think is the most popular answer which we are stuck at, which is using one discipline area for one aspect and another area for another aspect. This is the most common at the undergraduate and popular conference presentation level. I hope this conference is different. Example would be a study of the foreign tourism sector in Sigiriya. There are separate sections on the economic benefits, and another section on the social and cultural consequences, and the third on the environmental repercussions, followed by a concluding paragraph or two summarizing the three areas separately. Is this multidisciplinary research? Okay, the next one is, and I hope you will be a bit unsettled by this, but anyway, using a range of appropriate disciplines but subordinating them to a monodisciplinary framing, invariably with visible disciplinary bias and a cavalier attitude to the other disciplines involved. The example I fortuitously used is CKTU. Right? Here is the first study by Balan Disanayaka, 2014. Here is the conclusion of the study. Now I want you to think in your discipline whether this conclusion is what you do. CKTU is a recent phenomenon, whereas rice farming has taken place since ancient times in these regions without apparent health concerns. Recent changes include climate, food habits, and social lifestyle. Perhaps we should discard the conventional search for mechanistic explanations and instead take a holistic approach focusing on the environmental change and social lifestyle of the affected communities. So that's the end of the research, to say we should have begun in some other place. Or a worse one. This is a result of 5 years of work, 2014 to 2019. I won't tell you the university, but you can guess. 49.3 million rupees spent, 9 academics. There are 4 of them from the science faculty, 3 from the medical faculty, 1 from veterinary medicine, and 1 from agriculture. And what do they say? Proper demarcation and mapping of CKDU affected region, socio-economic study of the people living in the area and comparison of geo-environmental qualities with non-CKDU areas are important for identifying the possible causal factors. 5 years of work, 49 million bucks down the drain. So this is a kind of multidisciplinarity which says the other stuff is not important. You know, the social, the stuff we can, we are saying maybe you should have done that earlier. The third type is misusing multidisciplinary there to colonize or subordinate certain disciplines which are of a different kind, and to club together like-minded disciplines that only serve to reinforce traditional boundaries. The 1.2 above is very clear, where they say, we've done lots of work, but we have not spoken to anybody who has CKDU. Why would we need to speak to them? We can do it in a lab, we've done it with rats, but we don't need the people. Or the one-size-fits-all model of research. This is, I think, what we need to question. Then I go to 1.4, using hyphenated disciplines to anchor the research. I'm sorry, it's the medical faculty again, but psychosocial trauma being an example, the hyphenate. Here, since medicine is the dominant discipline, psychosocial trauma has very little of the social. And what little it has is culturally biased, gender undifferentiated, and unexamined for social discourse. And this is not a matter only here. If you look at the PTSD checklist in DSM-5, that is an appalling document. Because it's the same for everybody. Men, women, people in this country and in the other and so on. And if you are interested in stories, we can tell you. So even concepts like cultural bereavement, I'm sure the doctors don't know, collective trauma and social creaming remain hugely marginal. Why there the social part is psychosocial and the social part is not there. Then the 1.5, this is what I think is real multidisciplinary research, which is using processes where rather than working independently, disciplines interact and work collaboratively. This is termed interdisciplinary research in season analysis. It crosses borders, reinvents scholarship, de-deifies science, demystifies humanities, and centralizes value. As you notice in that, unfortunately it's not very clear. For examples, I put a series of dots. I don't know any. I hope you can help me to find real ones that do this. So then, if it's not these, is the use of a multidisciplinary conceptual framework as the basis of research? Is what that happened. But actually, again and again, subordination and or tokenism, which hierarchies disciplines, is what happens. Except for 1.5, where we are actually reinventing our disciplines. It's not disciplines that operate in silos and put them together in paragraphs with or sections with a concluding. What are the difficulties in undertaking such substantively multidisciplinary research? The fetishizing of positivist science. I'll have a lot to say about this. Positivist science, we are not talking about Feyerabend or Kuhn or any of that stuff, or string theory or chaos. We are talking about positivist science, the whole very sitting. The limits of disciplinary expertise and training. We are trained in one discipline, so we are reluctant to do something else. We are worried about it. Clear hierarchies among disciplines. The absence of a serious and sustained critical audience. The ideological suspicion and discomfort engendered by silos and hierarchies, reinforced by faculties and disciplinary hegemonies. If you're really serious about multidisciplinary research, then faculties also have to be something that we have to look at carefully. Particularly, we even bifurcate humanities, social sciences, and social sciences, we proliferate them. Lack of funding for multidisciplinary work. I have taken this, I myself couldn't believe it, the RGS, the research group, the research grants scheme in the UGC, aimed at catering a vibrant research culture at the higher education institutions through promoting the following. You can't see this, I don't know whether you can expand, but it's full of typos. They can't even get that right. So there is a new category of thing called postgraduate, particularly PhDs. That's one word. We have something called development, institutional, international cooperation and collaboration. Publications in peer-reviewed / journals. But of course, multidisciplinary is number 4. So that's a name, it has become a label, it's a flavor that means nothing. The problem is, the real work gets done within the disciplines and not across them. The multidisciplinary scholar is persona non grata in any discipline. We are moving back to narrow disciplinarization. What are the prerequisites that need to be sorted out for multidisciplinary research to be really multidisciplinary? 1. Understanding and addressing the ideological blind spots that implicit hierarchies as well as biases. Reviewers tend to reject such work, so researchers tend to avoid it. Because the reviewer doesn't even know what the area is, he avoids it, you don't write it, you're safe. Resisting the normalizing of certain concepts and frames of reference which orient researchers towards positivist approaches. Working against the fetishizing of certain concepts and methods that are biased. I use fetishizing in the classical sense. You give it an excessive importance. You can't critically examine it. removing biased formats and frames that claim to universal neutral in evaluating research. I'm sure even this conference will evaluate it in terms of the research problem and the hypothesis and so on. So what is the research problem if you're looking at a Shakespeare play? That he wrote too many plays. I mean, that would be the research problem. How can you define everything as a problem? So what passes as multidisciplinary research? 1.1 to 1.4, those 4 things. The one that tags them on separately, the one that uses it to think, not 1.5. What would real multidisciplinary scholarship look like? Border crossings, interdisciplinary, rebellious, radical, eccentric work. Now I will go to the, having done the diagnosis, I will now try to explain why this is the situation. I'm sorry to have to say this, every discipline they say it, I think, but in ours we say, not everything is about humanities, but humanities is about everything. Because they are involved. We are passing through a crisis that beggars all previous predicaments this country has had to face in its recent past. Worse still, we in the universities and other academic enclaves are both individually and collectively responsible for the multiple and overlapping tragedy which is now Sri Lanka. Yet the crisis is an opportunity to better understand our predicament. Of the 4-pronged crises, political, economic, social and ideological, I'll discuss only one today, regarding the ideological crisis. It appears that even many who criticize the economic and political debacle share the main thrust of the dominant ideology that prevails in middle class and elite circles. This is one aspect of the crisis of the humanities. Its absence as foundation and buttress has created a black hole which has been filled by the detritus of our time. In a nutshell, we are being told that the humanities are useless, social science is only slightly less so, and so everyone should be encouraged to do science or not to waste time in university. The crisis has led to Sri Lanka espousing solutions and worldviews that would have been unthinkable earlier. I don't know if you're familiar with the work of Naomi Klein, who wrote, she famously claimed in 2008 that neoliberal free market policies have come to dominate the contemporary world because they are smuggled in to so-called third world economies when the people of these countries are disaster shocked, and I would add crisis devastated, as in Sri Lanka today. The key understanding is that unpopular and even discriminatory political, economic and educational policies are imposed when people are preoccupied with life and livelihood threatening crises. As Baker points out, disasters and emergencies do not just throw light on the world as it is, they also rip open the fabric of normality. Through the hole that opens up, we glimpse possibilities of other worlds. For governments looking to monitor their citizens even more closely and companies looking to get rich by doing the same, it would be hard to imagine a more perfect crisis than a global pandemic. More importantly, however, is how such shocks and aftershocks are used to distort, devalue and trash serious alternatives of an ethical nature. All this can be achieved in times of catastrophe by pointing the finger at such ethical and moral positions as if they were guilty of producing the crisis or the catastrophe, without even having to engage with any serious argumentation or evidence. Thus, the manipulation of crises preempts rationality and reasonable discourse, compounding the original disaster with an added catastrophe in the making. Common sense possessed by reasonable people, cherished beliefs of the general public are at their weakest at such times, and it is this weakness that is exploited. The traditional response to the crisis of humanities is to bemoan its current lack of status, to allege discrimination by the sciences, and to claim a kind of powerlessness in the face of this injustice. However, the allegations against the hegemony of science are perfectly valid. Such whinging and moaning will not change anything. In fact, the thrust of this paper today is to suggest that the humanities themselves are at least in part to blame for this crass devaluing of their work and worldview. Many of us in the humanities today suffer from an inferiority complex. We tend to see ourselves not only as helpless and overwhelmed, but also as inferior and subordinates to the sciences. Thus, while reiterating the importance of Klein's path-breaking work, my contribution, articulated for the second time here, is to push this further and to critique the flatness and uniformity of her thesis. Here is my thesis. I argue that there are two distinct phases to this process of imposing unacceptable decisions of far-reaching long-term consequences on the public. First, we experience the decisions made during the immediate crisis or shock situation as extensively defined by Klein. Second, we suffer through the longer-term aftershock period of the catastrophe. Consequences of the ground crisis are combined with the ongoing repercussions of state-imposed neoliberal policies deliberately misperceived as solutions. Note, crucial here, there is not only policies that we have become saddled with, but also people. Politicians, bureaucrats, more politicians, sycophants, some of whom alas are academics, who then become the only option we have as we pick A or B or C or D, even though they are all alike in one way or another. Examples of the first phase of aftershock dogma can be seen in what I term the crisis of education, which has brought to a head by a head who didn't understand what education is all about. In reality, the crisis in education has much to do with the fact that such confusions between employment and employability remain uncorrected. That university education is measured in narrowly instrumental terms and not in terms of the value it imparts for citizens, human beings, and that hardly anyone wished then or wishes now to expose the emperor's new clothes or the new emperor's clothes. The tragedy is that there is a real disaster and travesty in education which has become, but this narrow instrumentalist approach is merely obfuscatory. I will return to this when I discuss the quality assurance context, as that quality assurance is the mortal enemy of multidisciplinarity in our system today, and since it is one of the direct consequences of what Klein describes in more general terms. Hence, in the first part of the ideological problem, my simple thesis today is that the only way the humanities can lay claim to the future while respecting and building on its illustrious past is not merely to protest its own turf from the parochiality and lack of imagination of narrowly instrumentalist science-mad educational regimes, but also at the same time and even more vigorously to insist on its principal engagement within the privileged spaces of the so-called STEM-based disciplines. First, of course, we must acknowledge the huge contribution of science to our material well-being, but humans don't live on rice alone. Hence, rather than shying away from the confrontation with these hegemonic disciplines, the humanities should actively and forcefully insist on ensuring that its collective voice is heard in, for instance, scientific studies and experiments, multidisciplinary research, and so on. Business as usual within positivism must be made impossible because of the challenge it receives from humanities. I believe this is not merely true of the natural and physical sciences, but also of the wannabe pseudosciences, which we euphemistically call social science. The point is, we really have no choice. The battle has to be taken to the enemy. We need to demonstrate tangibly, concretely, devastatingly that humanities thinking is necessary to prevent the sciences from making an embarrassing mess of themselves. The humanities taken as a whole has to demonstrate unequivocally that its value lies not only in its disciplinary enclave, but also in its pivotal role in guiding, disciplining, sensitizing the sciences, preventing the inevitable positivist faux pas and unanimities from causing havoc. In this sense, the future for the humanities is not to lick its wounds and accept defeat or subordination, but to exercise its fullest potential as the necessary prerequisite to ensure good research, clear thinking, and careful analysis within any disciplinary framework as equal multidisciplinary partners with science and social science. For this to work, of course, humanities itself needs to become more serious, more disciplined, more cross-disciplined, more multidisciplined, and much, much less a poor imitation of bad science. In this sense, my description of humanities can best be summarized as follows. The humanities is the location and the occasion of the exercise of the ethical, imaginative, value-based and critical. This conceptualization is at the same time the critique of what passes for humanities in our universities, schools and other similar forums. This is not to say that only humanities engage in ethical, the imaginative and value-based and the critical. They should be essential components of all disciplines and of disciplinarization itself. However, just as statistics, which is the method they use in social science, denies a home for social science, so too the full overlapping and interrelated elements I have identified do not have their home in the sciences. They should be welcome visitors, but the responsibility for constantly engaging, refining, questioning them remains with the humanities. This would also mean the humanities disciplines and research that doesn't engage with these is not, in my view, stricto sensu humanities work either. To this end, I will examine interventions of a significant and binding nature where the ethical, imaginative and critical engagement has been observed in the breach, at least in part because the humanitarian intervention has not been made, or as is more likely to happen in the case that I know, it has been made only to be ignored, devalued, ridiculed and worse. This is what I understand as interdisciplinarity or crossing borders. I will look at how the absence of any humanities type thinking and intervention has led to the catastrophe waiting in the wings, all due to the muddled and mediocre desire to please, going with the flavor of the millennium. I will use 3 examples. One is symptomatic examples in the Althusser. One is ahead, which I call behind, quality assurance, and the fetishization of positive science. I hope we can do this because without. So the HEAD program, comprising $100 million loan, ended in December 2023. And so did the website. The documentation, the transparency, the accountability of the World Bank. Now it's only the repayment that is left. These examples of the core HEAD themes were taken when the website was running, but now, unlike the bank, alas, it has run away. It would be better if the bank also ran away, but they haven't. Education and pedagogy. Now these are picked by the HEAD program, the bank has exemplary programs. I'm saying they can't be exemplary, they're not really multidisciplinary, so they make horrible mistakes. Right, increasing enrollment in higher education, priority discipline for economic development. We'll promote, etc., the expansion and enrollment of universities for the ATIs. Then the next one, yeah. So it shows, I won't go into detail, yeah. So it shows university business linkages, research innovation, commercialization. I don't know whether these people know that commercialization is a negative term. It means, by dictionary definition, commercialization is the act of using something to try to make a profit, especially in a way that people do not approve of. That's the OID. So now we are saying everywhere, this is what we want to do. And the bank is saying, the bank can't claim that English is not their first language. They are saying, these are the most commercialized projects. In other words, these are the worst ones. Right. So, an ICE is success stories. Yeah, this is from innovation, commercialization, enhancement. ICE is like the other ICE that we know, which is a disaster. This is also a disaster. Here, I've removed the titles. Success stories from innovation, commercialization, enhancement, technology in agriculture. University will remain nameless to their eternal shame. No humanities person. So what are they going to do? They have devised plucking tea is a highly labor practice. Plucking alone can occupy more than 70% of the labor force of an estate and more than 45% of the cost of production of tea. As a solution, a drone capable of facilitating the plucking of tea leaves using image processing has been developed. So that is an amazing thing. You're going to displace 1 million workers and their families with drones. And this is recognized by the bank as the best project. Now, if there had been a sociologist or anybody in humanity, anybody with a head screwed on and said, don't even touch this with a bathroom. What are you going to have? What would we say if they say we have devised I don't know what to call it, a robot to teach in universities, so that will make all of us redundant. Would we hail it as a great innovation? So the thing is, basic stuff. And I think the example is good. Now they are doing it with this commercial company. Please go up. Yeah. Can I? So look at it. You don't need to know the feminization of the plantation worker. So you can clearly imagine this is the company that's doing it. So are they gender sensitive? There are only two women there in the two corners. The rest are all men in the IT thing doing this and saying women shouldn't work, they should be at home or what, or the drone will work for them and who's going to pay? Mind you, it's risible, it's laughable. Okay, then the next one. Again, I don't know why there is a kind of, I'm sorry to say this, a kind of, you remember what the Kural said, no? The arrogance of saying we are wise. Now this is meditation, mindfulness, health project, all doctors. They are doing a thing, while meditation is a practice across many cultures, it's considered stemming from Buddhism, based practices, and so on, and Buddhism. So that's again a problem. If we say meditation is only Buddhist, then are we going to say it's Mahayana only, or is it Theravada? What are we going to say about other kinds of meditations? What do we do? So the thing is, the problem is, so the collaboration of multiple faculties, medical, arts, science, education, and so on. But when you look at the names, they're all from the medical faculty. The medical faculty people are really bright. There's no question about it. They're the only ones who can do CKDU without the people. They can do meditation without the proper discipline. But it doesn't work the other way. Look at the next one, the black soldier fly. These are all award-winning ones, the best. Black soldier fly larva. Now they are developing a program, again a nameless university, in which you create these larvae and you boil them alive. And this is going to create lots of money. You're going to get chicken feed and all kinds of feed. Are we in the business of boiling these larvae alive? Millions of larvae to boil them alive? Who's doing the thinking here? You want to kill a monkey, there's an uproar, and you're going to kill all these larvae. Or look at the next one, Natural Language Processing Center. This is not in an arts faculty, this is in some other place. And they are going to do machine-based language translation. I tried one of their things, and anyway, what we got, this was interesting. Though kind to me, he was a turncoat. Translates as, මට කරුණාවන්ත වුවත් ඔහු හැරවුම් කබායක් විය. More importantly, there's extra economic value of this stuff. But it has to be, in order to be what? So look at number 4. I'm very proud of number 4. That there are no award-winning projects in literary theory and criticism, because you can't make a business of it. You can't sell t-shirts with Shakespeare or something. I don't know what you need to do. So that's the business thing. But fine arts and culture studies is the most sad. They are going to do in this a packaging of Angampura. An Angampura package to be given to various people, sort of short, manageable. In Peradine we did a study to try to resurrect the Kombakankari, which has now already been packaged, to unpack it so that you get the real thing. But here's the package. And that's a super project, because it is bite sizes. The point is, if you had people who thought a bit, this would be non-viable. Right, so the quality assurance thing now, well, I can't resist this little thing. You know, Wittgenstein is probably the greatest philosopher who ever lived. Others changed the course of something once, Einstein did. Wittgenstein did it twice. In his first Tractatus, everybody went that way. Then in his second one, written possible, he goes up to Bertrand Russell and says, will you please tell me whether I'm a complete idiot or not? So Russell asked why. He said, if I'm a complete idiot, I shall become an engineer, but if not, I would want to be a philosopher. This is something we need to keep in mind. So, drawing again from that thing, I realized that part of the problem with this quality assurance business is that it completely defies all of the things of multidisciplinary that we are talking about, all of the serious stuff that is done. A key example here is the entire quality assurance dogma, which all universities under the UGC's blindly watchful eye are committed to implement. I have written in detail elsewhere on the subject, program and institutional review, but I would like to see, because the false competition generated by this actual time wasted in preparation for it. Our faculty spent months doing nothing else but this. And I had, for example, a program where we took our students to a plantation area. They did some superb work, but there was no report. So it was zero. Our students were asked, what do you think of our program? They said, good, but we'd like this improved, that improved. We were given a very bad score. Whereas some said, the best program in the world, we love it, there's nothing wrong with it. They got full marks. So what are the values we are teaching? So anyway, the false competition, and that's competition. We should not be working in competition. We have been told, the English department Peradini got a B and some other department got an A, they are better than us. What is this? And this is for loan. You have to pay for evaluation, you know that? You have to pay for the evaluation. So anyway, the false competition, the actual time wasted, in short, the entire process is deeply problematic and flawed. Even with universities closed, we are busy preparing and so on. That's what happened. So then what happens is, so the government identifies experts, we believe in this stuff, then and so on. So there are three phases. The first phase is this shock theory stuff. We protest against it. Our Senate said we don't want this coalition. After that, we got fed up of protesting. So then you accepted it. Then there are champions among you who get into this business. So they are the ones who are doing it, and then it becomes another process and so on. And then we have, so I can go into details, but I want to say, for now in the second and third phase, we have been aftershocked out of it. First time we have resistance, then we have there are champions, then we are told there is no other option. IMF, there is no other option. Quality assurance, there is no other option. So we accept that. Now in the second and third, we have been aftershocked. We just accept quality assurance and carry on. There is no other option. University of Peradeniya approved, I think it's so abominable, I put it down, in the Senate in 2021 and 2022, the definition of quality. None of the quality assurance documents have a definition of quality. So there is this. The fitness for purpose of a product or service according to a set of required standards with a minimum cost to society. Note how cost has become the key factor, overriding all others. It is obvious to anyone who is not under shock therapy that minimum cost should be replaced by appropriate cost. Minimum cost is if you instead of 2 classes you have 1, you have lecturers teaching 500 students, instead of 300. Minimum is wrong, it has to be, but it has gone on and on like that. So why has this not been changed in the last 20 years of discussion? The questioners are seen as radical and extremist because academics have been tamed by the aftershock dogma and can no longer as a community think outside the externally imposed normal. The outcome is that our collective shame, this has not been seriously questioned, or even if it is critiqued, the system ignores this and continues on its merry way, increasing class size, reducing basic resources, including teachers, all can be justified here, minimum cost. Here's a definition that's equally problematic and sophomoric. Have we seriously descended this level of quasi-religious quality gobbledygook? Here's definition of quality assurance. The persistent pursuit of goodness coupled tightly with the simultaneous relentless avoidance of badness and enhancing the fitness of purpose. Sounds like some catechism somewhere, but we accept this. How many of us read this stuff? We are so tired. Now you start doing the documents and something else and preparing and competing and so on. A major deficiency in the system as a whole is our collective inability to assess and measure quality except as a subset of quantitative data. This is a vexed issue in social science research in general and has resulted in the devaluing of qualitative analysis as incomplete, needs support through quantitative data, for instance, and unscientific. Science being the God substitute, which is by definition excludes the qualitative. It has also allowed an anything goes approach in many qualitative analyses with little situating of the corpus being studied, where generalizations are made on the basis of substantively inadequate and exceptional specific instances, interviews for example. Yet quantitative work is hardly less culpable because mere numbers are taken to validate any information, even where wild anthropology or question bias, sensitivity of context, which actually means all context, or the overarching environment and so on, serve to fundamentally skew responses. So, if you keep looking at that, you will see that the quality assurance discussion, we are in it, we play it, we try to do the best, the whole thing is flawed. And it certainly ties you to disciplines to compete with your colleagues in other universities. It's a quid pro quo business. We had, I'm sorry to say, in the English department, Peradeni, we had 3 members assessing us. I'm sorry to say this, and it's our fault. None of the 3 could speak English. That was a serious issue, but what to do? People volunteer, they are busy and so on. It's a very problematic case. So, what we have here, and I'm rushing through this with understanding of time. So, the 4th phase of this aftershock is 6% of GDP is no longer even discussed. Reduced funding, no appointments even when there is approved cadre positions, no filling vacancies, the education, higher education sector. We wring our collective hands in despair and soldier on. We are convinced that natural disasters and pandemics such as the tsunami and COVID-19 are beyond our control, and we have to do the best we can in the face of these crises. The authorities are never to blame. But there is nothing at all natural about natural disasters and pandemics if those who are worst affected are the poor, the marginalized, the old and infirm, women, children, minorities, again and again and again. What's natural about it? I have begun at pains to point out our language is not innocent, our words are not pure. Within them lies both a history and a geography of struggle for and against oppression, whether it be ideological, political, or economic. We borrow our keywords from business, our epistemology will be from that domain. When we accept this concept as quality and normality uncritically as denizens of the world of commerce, we will be left with meaningless, even misleading quantitative measure of value that will doom us to be pawns in a game over which we have no control. The entire discourse of quality is business. All teaching always also involves the teaching of value, whether we choose to or not. Hence, the easy normal which excludes and instrumentalizes, which forgets that education is a right to be enjoyed by all, which strives on an uneven playing field, which equates education with employment, which rationalizes inequality on the basis of the aftershock dogma, must be unequivocally rejected. Instead, we must reconceptualize our transformative teaching role in this time of multiple crises and so on. But crises are double-edged. On the one hand, they permit the regime to impose shock and aftershock policies and processes that we should never agree to normally. On the other, they force us to see things differently, to think anew, as Victor of St. Hugo said 1,000 years ago, to see our own terrain as strangers do. But for this, we must have the courage of our convictions. That is what I wish for you, for us today, the wisdom to see beyond the shock and aftershock dogma, the will to resist being cogs in a neoliberal wheel, the courage to clear a new path. So I've looked at this, if you look at quality control, the whole discussion, this is from John Hopkins. Quality control is a procedure or set of procedures intended to ensure that a manufactured product or performs service adheres to a defined set of quality criteria or meets the requirement of the client or the customer. Quality control is similar to but not identical with quality assurance. Quality assurance is defined as a procedure or set of procedures intended to ensure that a product or service under the development before work is complete as opposed to afterwards meets specified requirements. I challenge you, any of you, to think of your teaching as a procedure that and a product. You need a process. So, when we look at the whole unit, the quality assurance remains a project for the University Grants Commission and the higher education administrators. It is not the outcome of a radical new vision or mission, but a linear set of tasks which has a funding cycle and clearly limited objectives. The attitude change required has been replaced by a set of sequence steps. Thus, a technical solution is being mooted for ideological and ultimately political issues, and this mismatch can only exacerbate disappointment on all sides. So that's what I have to say. The other part is about the whole question of science. This, I think, how much more time do we have? 5 minutes? Right. So I will end with this. I think the point to realize is there is a role for science, it's very clear. But this is what we need. The major error of those who claim that science and scientists must take responsibility for governance because governance needs definite knowledge which only science can provide is they do not appreciate that humanity and human affairs, including governance of free, diverse, independent people, would always need a capacity for informed judgment built through long study and struggle with human affairs and follies and membership of that culture. Humanities education must enable a capacity of judgment. General laws would not do, for there aren't any general laws to govern diverse human beings. The method of science is logical and rational. The method of the humanities is one of imagination, sympathetic understanding, and indwelling. The trouble here is that science means two things. Before the 19th century, science had other meanings. In the 14th century, science meant knowledge or general proof of any argument. So when you say it's scientific, it means you prove it. It has nothing to do with science the way we understand it. Not physics or chemistry or any of that. In the 17th century, it became the oppositional term to art. From the 19th to the middle to the early 19th century, science was meant to be hard and objective. Now in English, scientific implies both demonstrating proof in an argument as well as being methodologically rigorous. And it refers to a set of disciplines which then become the paradigms and exemplars of such rigor and proof. So what I'm going to end with is I've been looking at even Stephen Hawking, even he says the scientific stuff is only provisional. There is nothing that we can go beyond. So I would say, if I make this speculative argument that because arts, humanities and social sciences are reinventing themselves and have been placed on the defensive, we are engaged in a self-fulfilling prophecy about the irrelevance and inadequacy of our discipline and faculties. In fact, the answer we provide diffidently is itself a capitulation to this pseudo-scientific logic. On the basis of World Bank bribes and brickbats, we are further dumbing down our curriculum and making it narrowly instrumental for jobs. Job-oriented, dependent on the government's politicized job handouts and teaching. Job orientation is important, but we should not confuse employment with employability. We have people who are employable, but if the economy doesn't generate that. In this interregnum, to quote Gramsci, where the old order is dead, but the new is not yet born, morbid symptoms appear. So I think there is where I would like to end to say, what must we do now? I propose that we take stock of the damage done both to our disciplines and within our discipline by this creeping scientism, which like a cancer has taken control of the body politic of our disciplines. Even real science does not do the positivist science. Positive science is that verifiability principle. The time for timidity is long past. If we believe that our work should not be a cheap imitation of positivist empiricist science or weak mathematics, statistics, we need to actively, not passively, resist this frightening trend. In the Faculty of Arts, Humanities, Social Sciences, our diversity is our strength. One size does not fit all, and we must continue to be true to our disciplines and principles, teaching our students to make judgments and to defend them, to go beyond petty nationalisms and other parochial ideologies. In short, we need to get back to the era when our scholars and intellectuals towered all over the others in the university system. And for this, we have to reinvent our teaching and research to create and nurture students with a humanist vision that puts science in its place as one method among many. Multidisciplinarity is only viable among equals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. On behalf of the organizing committee of iCMA 2025, I extend my sincere gratitude to our keynote speaker for that thought-provoking keynote address. In honor of our distinguished guests here today, this morning, on behalf of the FGS University of Sri Jayewardenepura, tokens of appreciation will be presented to our distinguished guests. To so proceed, I cordially invite Professor Rasika Pereira, Dean of the Faculty of Graduate Studies and the Conference Chair, iCMA 2025, to present the token of appreciation, firstly to the Chief Guest of our inauguration, Senior Professor Padmalale Manage, Vice Chancellor of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura. And also, it is time to pay our sincere gratitude for the keynote speaker of the iCMA, Emeritus Professor Arjuna Parakrama, Professor Thank you very much for your valuable participation to make this event a success. There were many behind the curtains who helped to make this event a reality. Our conference will remain enlightened and successful thanks to all of them. And now we have come to the end of the inauguration ceremony of iCMA 2025. Prior to the start of the technical session, I would like to call upon the conference secretary, Mr. Muhammad Atif, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good morning to all of you. Venerable Mahasangha, Chief Guest Senior Professor Padmalale Manage, Keynote Speaker Emeritus Professor Arjuna Parakrama, Conference Chair and the Dean of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, Professor Rasika Pereira, all the Deans of the Faculties, Chairpersons of the Board of Studies, and all the Senior Professors, Librarian, the Course Coordinators of the Postgraduate Programs, Lecturers, Registrar and the Bursar of Universities, and all the participants who have joined with us today, both physically as well as virtually. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this occasion on behalf of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, University of Sri Jayewardenepura. First and foremost, I would like to thank Senior Professor Padmalale Manage, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and being the chief guest of the conference. I wish to extend our gratitude to keynote speaker, Emeritus Professor Arjuna Parakrama. So we are very humbled by your kind gesture in accepting to give this lecture despite your numerous and tight schedules. I believe we have all profited from your wealth of learning and experience. I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our sincere thanks to Professor Rasika Pereira for the perfect support, leadership and the guidance he has extended to all of us at the iCMA 2025. Thank you very much, sir. Above and beyond, let's not forget about the backbone of this conference, the editorial committee of iCMA 2025, including the chairpersons of the Board of Studies of the Faculty of Graduate Studies. Dear Sir, Madam, thank you very much. And I extend my gratitude to reviewers, language editors, the session chairs, and all the other resource persons for their enormous cooperation throughout this process. I may like to express my sincere thanks to the staff members of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, including Senior Assistant Registrar Mrs. Madhu Jayewardenepura and the Deputy Registrar, Deputy Bursar of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, Mrs. Lekha Vikramasinghe. And all the members from the Japur Media team and the Center for IT Services, including Dr. Ravimal Bandara and Mr. Harsha Munasinghe. Thank you very much for putting this event together. I would like to thank Professor Damayanti Bamunasinghe and Mr. Lahiru Siriwardena, Mr. Pubudu from CDEP, Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, for supporting with us today with live streaming. Also, I should mention Mr. Rahal, the Works Engineer of the University, and their team. Thank you very much. On behalf of the FGS, I extend my sincere thanks to Dr. Kanishka Wijeyaratne for comparing at this occasion. I cannot thank everyone enough for their involvement and their willingness to take the completion of this task beyond their comfort zones to make this event a reality. However, conducting this conference would have been impossible without the hard effort from the organizing committee, who have devoted lots of time and energy within the short period of time. Ms. Manjali Jayawardene, Ms. Malsha Rodrigo, Dr. Amilanwan Srishan, Mr. Sachit Velaratne, Ms. Satsara Sandamini, Ms. Shehani Gunasekara, Mr. Kavisha Gayantha, Mr. Nirmana Abhishek, and all the staff members of the Faculty of Graduate Studies and the facilitators who are helping with us from different departments and centers. Thank you very much for your immense support. Last but not least, we thank you for coming and supporting us to make this event a success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abhik. At last but not least, I sincerely thank all our guests joining on site today. To mark the end of the ceremony, please all rise for the national anthem.
Sri
you very much. We will be concluding the inauguration of the 11th International Conference on Multidisciplinary Approaches, iCMA 2025. With this, we will commence the technical sessions from 11 a.m. at the Faculty of Graduate Studies. Now I cordially invite all our dignitaries for a group photo. And I also kindly invite you to join with the refreshments served outside from the